Romeo and Juliet, and these are just picked because they were the greatest movies available, yeah, that I observed doing. Jack Dawson's outstretched hand on the Titanic deck, one of the most enduring images in 20th century film, was that of arms. However, the actor who played that part, Leonardo DiCaprio, was never only a romantic but heartthrob. He has been a unique individual for over 30 years. Monument. An actor who consistently took the more difficult route, delving into unrefined, supporting personalities and transforming every performance into a teaching moment about the importance of art. However, the higher his star has increased, the more erratic his personal life has seemed. This man is here, who owns almost everything: hundreds of millions of dollars, recognition, accolades, a lengthy line of lovers, including movie stars and supermodels. And at 50, he still clings to a single decision that leaves everyone wondering: never getting married or starting a family. Among all the wealth and influence, all that's left are deserted homes, short-lived love affairs, and one unmet desire to become a father. Living evidence is Leonardo DiCaprio, of the cost of fame. An artist who doesn't mind the difficult path. An international symbol millions of people watched. But there was also a man quietly struggling with his loneliness. Is it possible that the guy who accelerated the heartbeat of the entire globe is the most lonely of them all when the curtain comes down? Everything? On November 11th, 1974, Leonardo Wilhelm DiCaprio was born in Los Angeles, California. He was the sole child of German-born lawyer Ermeline and Denver, secretary, and bohemian artist George DiCaprio, who attracted underground-developed experimental films and comics. A common artistic interest brought the two together after they had first met in college. Ambition. However, George's free-spirited personality quickly led to the dissolution of their marriage. Leonardo's name, which has started with an accidental yet symbolic moment and has remained with him to this day. Although Malene was standing in front of a Leonardo da Vinci painting in an Italian gallery while she was expecting when the baby unexpectedly kicked, she chose to name her son after the Renaissance genius, interpreting it as a portent of fate. Afterwards, Leonardo acknowledged that he was pleased of the name because it represented his father's Italian heritage, but also because it was accompanied with a demand for originality and individuality. DiCaprio's early years from it was anything from idyllic. Prior to being able to talk clearly, his parents had parted ways. George moved in with a new woman he fell in love with. However, he and Malene both desired to raise their son. They came to a peculiar agreement. A single yard is shared by two houses next to each other. In this, Leonardo was raised in an unusual environment, sandwiched between two worlds. On one side, he devotedly holding his mommy. The other was his artist father's wild, unrestrained demeanor. It was Leonardo also became close to Adam Ferrer, his father's son, here to girlfriend. Adam, who was a few years older, had dabbled in acting and was the Leonardo never had a brother. The two wandered throughout Los Feliz streets, playing together while simultaneously taking in disturbing sights. Right beyond their door is violence, drugs, and crime. Later, DiCaprio recounted, "I grew up in an area where people dealt with needles and blood on a regular basis that I've never forgotten that there were drugs outside my window." Those memories grew more vivid. His appreciation to his mother, whose meager income as a legal secretary provided the family with just enough to sustain him in such a hostile atmosphere. Leonardo never quite fit in at school. He went to school in Los Angeles. Although he attended John Marshall High School and the Center for Enriched Studies, his interest was not textbooks. He only felt genuinely alive when acting, imitating, clowning, or adopting fictional personas. At a local festival, at the age of 2, he climbed onto a little stage, danced, and made amusing faces that caused the audience to chuckle. That sensation of motion, his lifelong desire to act, was sown by others. One more pivotal moment originated with Adam Ferrer. Upon witnessing his stepbrother's $50,000 earnings from Ahe, came to the realization that aspirations could come true after watching a television commercial. However, the journey to the screen was far from easy. A year and a half later, he had to deal with audition disappointment after audition disappointment, rejection after rejection. Some organizations even icily suggested that he adopt the name Lenny Williams in order to succeed in Hollywood. Leonardo firmly declined. He refused to give up the name, bound by his sense of destiny and family heritage, even if it meant taking a more difficult route. Thankfully, his father not only supported him, but also taught him that he needed to remain loyal to himself. With the encouragement and assistance of a family friend, Leonardo was able to capture a casting director's attention. At the age of 15, he had made numerous appearances in advertisements for Bubble Yum Gum, Kraft Singles cheese, and Matchbox toy cars and Applejack cereal. In addition to helping him escape poverty, these gigs opened the door to the harsh entertainment industry. The early years of Leonardo DiCaprio were consequently an odd combination: shadows, poverty, and instability. The silent love of his mother and his father's spiritual support. Exposure to hazardous conditions in addition to increasing belief that the stage might serve as a second home for him. It all formed a young man cautious of personal entanglements, but anxious to prove himself, that a mark that would persist in his lifestyle choices even after he rose to fame on a worldwide scale. Leonardo DiCaprio's first foray into the entertainment world was made possible by the advertising contracts, but he understood it couldn't end there. At the age of 15, Leonardo secured a modest but significant part in 2 episodes of the new Lassie television show, portraying Glenn, a small advancement that made it possible for him to go from commercials to performing professionally. After a year, he featured in one of the most well-liked soap operas of the 1990s, Santa Barbara Time, keeping up the reputation building with modest yet noteworthy roles. Leonardo was cast as Luke in the popular sitcom Growing Pains by 1991. Brower, a young person without a home. At first, producers believed the colorful, enticing more people would watch a youthful actor, particularly young women. Although the ratings didn't increase as anticipated, Leonardo's innately cheeky performance brought him more Young Actor Awards nominations and, more significantly, provided access to the large screen. He was given the chance in 1993 after being chosen for This Boy's Life, based on the memoir of Tobias Wolff. Leonardo portrayed Toby, an adolescent who was having difficulties under mistreatment of a violent stepfather, who was played by Robert Dyro. It acting against one of the biggest stars in American film was the first time Leonardo had to deal with actual pressure. Using rigorous techniques, director Michael Caton-Jones made the young actor understand every change in the character's mental state. Ultimately, DiCaprio went above and above. Critics were persuaded by his depiction of Toby's defenseless yet rebellious eyes. This was a youthful talent that should not be disregarded. Within a year, DiCaprio reaffirmed what eating gave that impression. Grape Gilbert, 1993. That he plays the role of Ari in this movie, a youngster with a mental illness who is reliant on his elder brother, who is portrayed by Johnny Depp. The job necessitated such total immersion that Leonardo might have been surprised and misunderstood. Viewers. Many even thought that the youngster who was cast had a real impairment. He was just 19 when he got his first nomination for Best Supporting Actor at the Academy Awards. The time had come for a genuine talent to emerge. In addition to having the beauty of a movie star, young actors are also endowed with the depth to fully inhabit a part. Observing Leonardo did not rush his unexpected triumph in What's Eating Gilbert Grape in the direction of commercial movies. Rather, he pursued difficult endeavors like Total, 1995, and The Basketball Diaries, that he played gay poet Arthur Rimbaud in the 1995 film Eclipse. This audacity demonstrated that Leonardo longed to be more than just a pretty face on TV to become a true artist. In 1996, he then embarked on the project that Totally Romeo and Juliet, directed by Baz Luhrmann, changed his image. This updated Romeo is portrayed in this rendition of Shakespeare's play using neon and firearms lights, and the city of Verona on fire. With his young appearance and sad, gaze, Leonardo enthralled the world with his amorous aura. Particularly among young viewers, he was instantly welcomed by teenage girls as the quintessential representation of passionate love, Romeo's ascent of Juliet's balcony, Claire Danes, or his staring her dead body's desperation became classic posters for a generation off the of the 1990s. DiCaprio's role was not limited to Romeo. He experienced the horror of that love, which is the exact definition of heedless desire. Romeo and Juliet were not only a commercial triumph, but also sparked a movement in society. Leonardo DiCaprio was now a worldwide celebrity and a real teenage hottie. However, in contrast to manufactured stars, he had already demonstrated his range as a performer. Additionally, this was only the start of the impending detonation. A movie that will soon make his name known outside of Hollywood. That if Leonardo DiCaprio became a young idol as a result of Romeo and Juliet, then only a year later, he became a worldwide sensation after Titanic 1997. That DiCaprio plays the impoverished but driven and unrestrained artist Jack Dawson, brought Hollywood's ideal romantic prince to life. Youthful, careless, and ready to sacrifice all for love. With bright eyes and a cheeky grin, with his straightforward yet eerie phrases, Jack Dawson became the ideal of a whole generation of young ladies. The Titanic's influence extended much beyond the realm of film. There had never been such a cultural fever. Theaters around the world were packed. Viewers kept coming back to see it again. Additionally, worldwide box office receipts surpassed $2 billion, a record that was unimaginable at the time. In the media, the name Leo became the most popular keyword, displayed in periodicals, on television, and on posters that decorate youngsters' homes across Europe and America to Asia. People waited in line outside theaters to join Jack and rose in their tears. Watch as the young man shouts, "I'm the king of the world," while spreading his arms wide at the ship's bow that characterized the time period. Dormitory walls were adorned with posters of star-crossed lovers cuddling in the sunset. Although Leonardo DiCaprio became a household name outside of the film industry, the phenomena of culture, crushing pressure, however, came from hysteria. DiCaprio, who was in his early 20s, went from a promising actor to the world's most sought-after celebrity. Thousands of youthful admirers shouted his name whenever he appeared. He was hailed as Hollywood's prince by the media, and studios showered him with romance screenplays inspired by the Titanic. However, beneath the glitz, DiCaprio since confined. He was being labeled a romantic heartthrob, a safe, attractive idol for adolescent girls, the very thing he had never desired. That tremendous adoration turned into a burden for an actor who was eager for challenges at a shadow that feared to enclose him and render him flat in the eyes of critics and viewers alike. While the public anticipated DiCaprio to continue portraying new iterations of Jack Dawson, he took a different route. Rather than pursuing, he subtly rejected numerous cliched love stories in the name of easy glory. He stayed away from positions that won people over with only a grin or a quick look. Rather, Leonardo committed himself to meticulously reading screenplays, selecting only those with complexity, tension, and authority to put his acting skills to the test. Many were startled by his choice at the time, that he was written off by some producers as someone who was ruining his own career, but the young star's ability to ever break free from Titanic's shadow was questioned by the media. However, DiCaprio did not waver. He was aware that an actor's career durability originated from the capacity to continuously reinvent oneself rather than from replicating a picture to appease the masses. That his audacious decision offered a fresh path and prevented him from falling into the trap of fleeting celebrity. One in which Leonardo DiCaprio appears would become one of the greatest and most influential actors of his generation, rather than just a young romantic. That when Leonardo DiCaprio encountered reinvention, it immediately found the ideal springboard. Among the greatest directors of the century is Martin Scorsese. They started working together with Gangs of New York, 2002, as a young man named Amsterdam Voluin, who was coming back to get revenge for the death of his father. DiCaprio played a character that was both tough and psychologically complicated when he was attacked by a gang. The movie signaled the beginning of a more than 20-year connection between an artist and their inspiration. The Aviator then appeared in 2004. He became Howard Hughes, the businessman, aviator, and inventor of OCD, or obsessive-compulsive disorder, torments a genius. The part forced DiCaprio to the edge of his abilities, compelling him to thoroughly research the illness and Hughes's intense loneliness. The Heat demonstrated he was no longer the Titanic with a brilliant performance that won him his first Golden Globe. Prince. The Departed further demonstrated DiCaprio's capacity for innovation in 2006. Himself. In his role as undercover police officer Billy Costigan, he portrayed oppressive stress and internal suffering, which helped turning the movie into one of the best gangster movies of the 21st century and providing Scorsese with the first his career's Oscar. Their collaboration continued after that. In the 2010 film Shutter Island, DiCaprio guided viewers through the maze of a federal marshal's failing mind, a position that required him to delve deeply into mental illness. Next followed 2013's The Wolf of Wall Street, in which he personified the crazed mania of the stock salesman who transformed Wall Street into a sex circus, Jordan Belfort. Money and Drugs. Both stunning and scathingly irreverent, this bold performance solidified one of the pivotal positions in his career. 20 years after they first worked together, the pair is still prosper. DiCaprio was shown in Killers of the Flower Moon 2023 at the height of his powers, playing the role of Ernest Burkhardt, a man divided between devotion, criminality, and love in The Killings in Osage. Critics once again praised the movie, demonstrating that the DiCaprio-Scorsese friendship is more than just professional, yet an artistic adventure that keeps redefining the power of modern film. In addition to DiCaprio, Scorsese also established himself with significant roles outside of Mentor's embrace. He put himself to the test on these endeavors, occasionally entering difficult political territory and occasionally revealing the personal sorrows of human existence. In 2006, Blood Diamond pulled him into the center of a somber reality where wealthy people's beautiful gems were purchased in Africa, that agony and blood. DiCaprio played mercenary arms dealer Danny Archer, showed a man torn between ethics and financial gain. He had the charm of a careless explorer while making viewers face the atrocities of luxury. In addition to earning him a nomination for an Oscar, but it also signaled his complete transformation from a romantic Prince tone actor who isn't scared to confront the most brutal realities. After 2 years, Revolutionary he and Kate Winslet were reunited in Road 2008, but in a very different environment from the Titanic. They were a young suburban couple who were no longer star-crossed lovers that a couple stuck in America in the 1950s. With forced smiles and dinner tables, the suffocating erosion of unrealized dreams was exposed in the film. DiCaprio appeared determined to get rid of his colossal glow. The dreamy eyes had vanished, supplanted by outbursts of rage, powerlessness, and despair, revealing the quiet devastation inside a man who seems to possess everything. Then came Inception 2010, where DiCaprio was immersed in a labyrinth of reality and fantasies by Christopher Nolan. As Dom Cobb, DiCaprio, a master of dream invasion plagued by his deceased wife's memory, transformed a complex sci-fi idea into an emotional journey. His portrayal not only added intellectual weight to the movie, but its hurting heart, too. Evidence of his exceptional capacity to combine intelligence with instinctive emotion. If Inception had explored grief, Django Unchained 2012 drove him to the other extreme, away from inner agony. As DiCaprio embraced one of Calvin Candy, a southern plantation owner who was slick on the exterior but rotten on the inside, that his most rugged parts. When he struck the table with his palm in the well-known incident, despite breaking a glass and gushing blood, he remained true to himself, giving his lines with relentless vigor. The spontaneous scene remained in the movie, preserving his readiness to make a physical sacrifice for a role's soul. The Revenant, 2015, was the ultimate test, with Hugh Glass being mauled by a bear and abandoned to perish in the icy woods. DiCaprio made himself put up with the nightmares of his character, consuming raw bison liver while filming in extremely cold conditions, submerging himself in rivers of ice. He had stopped acting. He was making it through. After further, the issue of when Leo will win an Oscar has plagued people for more than 20 years. When he eventually grasped the golden statue in his hands, ended a protracted, excruciating chapter. It wasn't just a one-role reward, but a release for a whole career based on belief and perseverance. Over the years and the years that followed, he kept demonstrating his ability to choose jobs with resilience, that he was cast as Rick Dalton, a fading ballist, in the 2019 film Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. In a Hollywood that is changing quickly, an actor is holding on to his former glory. A mirror that instant stardom fades away is a reflection of every star's worst nightmare. Then arrived in 2021's Don't Look Up, he played a desperate scientist yelling into a civilization unconcerned with the imminence of disaster. The comic tone of the movie concealed a glaring political message, demonstrating DiCaprio's dedication to tying art and social duty together. In addition to his acting career, DiCaprio's accolades demonstrated his versatility. And he received the title of Commander of Arts and Letters from France in 2005, acknowledging the cross-border influence of culture. Time magazine listed among the 100 most influential persons in the world. He is renowned for both his acting and his strong environmental advocacy. As a peace ambassador for the UN, DiCaprio became the spokesperson for a generation of artists who used their notoriety to promote environmental conservation. Additionally, in 2022, he was listed as one of the top 50 actors of all time by Empire readers. Evidence of Leonardo DiCaprio's three-decade quest for constant innovation had received the full compensation. Considering that Leonardo DiCaprio's career took him to the height of his creative success, one nagging question continued to dominate his private life. Why is a man so gifted and well-off at 50 and still haven't constructed a permanent home? DiCaprio's life has been full of loves and tabloids in addition to the spotlight, filled to brimming with his name beside some of the world's most stunning women. Beginning in the middle of the 1990s, when Hollywood had not yet been completely engulfed by the radiance of Romeo and Juliet and the Titanic, the press had already found Leonardo DiCaprio's personal life to be compelling material. Following that time, Leo was more and more linked to a list of glitzy friends, the majority of whom were famous actors or models. The Bridget Hall, a rising star of Victoria's Secret in sports, was the first to make an appearance in the tabloids depicted. DiCaprio was spotted with her in 1994, just after his 20th birthday, at a number of fashion shows in New York. Few specifics about their brief connection were available, but the media swiftly dubbed Hall his first girlfriend, who was a model, creating a pattern that would continue for the ensuing 30 years. The youthful Hollywood celebrity and a fashion model of the same age. Following Hall's arrival, the most influential black supermodel of the 1990s was Naomi Campbell. When they were regularly spotted together at top events in 1995, rumors started to circulate at gatherings. Despite their brief romance, Naomi and Leonardo stayed close companions. They were still seen going to charity functions and taking yacht vacations together years later, evidence that some friendships last a lifetime despite their briefness. DiCaprio made an appearance in 1996, stunning blonde model Kristen Zong, who is renowned for her attractive appearance. Zong was brought to he regarded her as his formal girlfriend for a year after they met on the red carpet. However, shortly before the Titanic, they split up after the premiere. The media at the time said Leo lacked maturity that's sufficient for a committed relationship, but Zong subsequently acknowledged that the demands of his hectic schedule and the pressures of celebrity-made love is hard to maintain. As Titanic made DiCaprio a worldwide star by 1997, phenomenon, there were allegations that he was connected to Demi Moore, and he was in a tumultuous marriage with Willis Bruce. At a party in Los Angeles, paparazzi captured the two having a private conversation and the headlines flashed. The relationship was never verified by Leo Demi. Before separating, Moore stayed married to Willis for a few more years, and the DiCaprio tale remained one off the gray regions in Hollywood. At the same time, another Victoria's Secret model, Helena Christensen Angel, was frequently spotted at afterparties with Leo. Renowned for her romance with, according to reports, Helena and Michael Hutchence, vocalist of INXS, had an intimate relationship with DiCaprio for a few months. However, it felt more like companionship than a long-term relationship, like many of his liaisons to dedication. The story of Amber Valletta was among the most odd. As stated according to insiders, DiCaprio spotted her picture on the cover of a fashion magazine in the late 1990s magazine and requested his management to set up an introduction right now. They like a scene from a movie. They met and briefly dated. Later, Valletta married, had a family, and said her relationship with Leo was brief. Additionally, DiCaprio's name was associated with Czech supermodel Ava in the post-Titanic era. Zyga. Following the release of The Man in the Movie, there were rumors that they were involved in 1998's Iron Mask. However, Ava herself refuted the rumors, claiming that they were only friends. Zyga later wed an Italian entrepreneur and began a family. Although the Leo-Eva tale was only a minor detail in the greater picture of the complicated private life of an actor. When considering that era, it's evident Leonardo after Titanic, DiCaprio became the main attraction. The glare of he continued getting thrown into rumors with the most gorgeous faces in the world because of his popularity. However, beneath the extensive list of most of all, supermodel girlfriends were still vulnerable. No bond ever really grew stronger, no marriage, no kids, and no family. The confluence of youth, crushing celebrity, and DiCaprio moved between loves like he went through roles because he was afraid of being committed. Sparkling and brilliant, but brief. Following brief relationships throughout his early years, Leonardo DiCaprio entered a distinct stage. Longer partnerships that occasionally had the impression of becoming a real destination. Additionally, the conflict between private life and celebrity was most apparent here. DiCaprio first encountered Brazilian supermodel Gisele Bündchen in 1999 at the height of her profession. They soon rose to prominence as Hollywood's most attractive leading couple and the entertainment industry's golden couple man and an angel from Victoria's Secret. 6 years of walking in red carpets together, went to sporting events together, and were frequently pictured on opulent trips. However, their conflicts could not be reconciled by the glitz. According to Gisele's narrative, she yearned for a more peaceful, more meaningful existence, while Leonardo was still enmeshed in the whirlwind and parties of Hollywood. In 2005, when they split up, I had to choose between saving myself and continuing to live in, she thought, fatigue. The partnership ended without a marriage or kids. Simply a chapter of hope, but also of profound disappointment. After less than a year, DiCaprio dated Israeli supermodel Bar Rafili for almost 10 years younger. Despite never being stable, their romance lasted 6 years. They like parallel tracks trying to meet, they broke up and then got back together several times. Their trips to Israel, the US, and Europe were frequently reported by the media. Bar even presented Leonardo to her family, and many thought this may be the pivotal moment, indicate a tendency for steadiness. However, the never-ending cycle of breakups and reunions tired them down. By 2011, they had permanently broken up, ending a lengthy relationship that was still unable to anchor him. Leonardo started dating Camila in 17.23 years as junior. The Argentine actress and model was born in 1997. This turned become the longest 5-year partnership in his private life. However, it also attracted the most intense criticism. The disparity in age became the target of internet derision, with the media drawing comparisons between Marone and his former partners and even highlighting stated he had never dated a person older than 25. They showed up in spite of the criticism, together for important occasions, such as prize presentations. Marone herself once, instead of labeling me because of something, people should allow me to love whoever I want. An age difference, but the pressure from society and lifestyle, they were progressively torn apart by differences. 5 years later, in 2022, they formally divided. No marriage, no kids, just the reverberation of a stable love, but cold and bear the burden of external examination in the end. Following that the public pondered once more if Leonardo would ever meet a suitable partner. Finally, in 2022, Hadid's name sprang out of nowhere. When paparazzi saw them together, rumors began to circulate happenings in New York. At that time, she was coming out of personal crisis, as Leo had recently concluded his longest relationship, creating instant sensation. The couple included a top supermodel with Hollywood's everlasting bachelor. However, the story ended after a few months. According to insiders, they were just old buddies that dabbled in something greater. Like smoke, the rumor vanished during DiCaprio's lengthy dossier on romances. A new face emerged by 2023. An Italian named Victoria, Soretta supermodel, who is over 20 years younger. They were first acquainted at the Cannes Film Festival. Soon spotted taking a trip to Sardinia, going to a Rolling Stones show in Las Vegas, and arriving at Art Basel in Miami, while also commemorating DiCaprio's 49th birthday. Interestingly, Victoria was seen several times with Leonardo's mother, indicating that he valued their relationship more than the brief ones earlier. A well-known figure for Versace, Gucci, and Balenciaga came into his life when his personal and professional lives were at a crossroads that had matured. Yet, even with this public display and the sense of something deeper, marriage was never mentioned. Sources close to him confirmed that DiCaprio valued her deeply, but did not see a ring as the measure of love. Although a public obsessed over each woman who entered and left his life, Leonardo DiCaprio carefully cultivated an image the press never tired of exploiting: Hollywood's bad boy. Since the 1990s, he was infamous for his hard-partying crew nicknamed the __ Posey, which included UPenn-coming stars like Tobey Maguire. They were a fixture at bars and clubs in New York and Los Angeles, known for a light rivalry. Tabloids fed on their antics, drinking, mingling with models, brawls in bars, leaving chaos in their wake. The image of a young star living recklessly became both dazzling and rebellious, shaping DiCaprio as a generational icon of the 1990s. But it was his love life that drew the most ridicule. Online, people even created the Leo's girlfriend age chart, a meme ridiculing his tendency of dating gorgeous ladies under 25, only to split when they reached that age. The chart went viral worldwide, establishing a running joke about Leo's dating strategy. However, he never publicly reacted, turning his personal life into a joke and further stigmatizing his otherwise outstanding career. But beyond the caustic laughter and jokes, there was a deeper root: the divorce of his parents. Leonardo had observed his family as a child that disintegrate, leaving him with a persistent fear of being committed. He disapproved of partnerships maintained solely by appearances and vowed not to make the same mistakes as his parents. For 30 years, he prioritized his job over all else, refusing to let his marital or home life influence his creative decisions. For him, personal autonomy was unassailable, and love, if it materialized, didn't have to be verified by a marriage license. However, for the first time at 50, Leonardo fatherhood was another desire that DiCaprio disclosed. During an interview, he said that "I'm not young anymore." He also acknowledged that he will eventually desire kids. A peek into the guy behind the glitz and glamour, it was an uncommon disclosure in the headlines of the tabloids. He didn't require a lavish nuptials or the ideal husband in the eyes of the public. He never really desired a title, but for a position as a father. Maybe that's Leonardo's performance. DiCaprio has been waiting in silence the entire time. Maybe it was his uncertainties regarding personal obligations that prompted Leonardo DiCaprio to select a different kind of enduring loyalty, a connection with the globe itself. In 1998, when he was only 24 years old and had only he established the Leonardo DiCaprio Foundation in the wake of the Titanic. The group swiftly rose to prominence as one of Hollywood's busiest private nonprofits, concentrating on providing environmental initiatives, protecting species, and promoting climate awareness shift. During speeches and appearances on the red carpet, DiCaprio never stopped. He raked into his own pocket several times to give immediate assistance. In 1998, he $35,000 was presented to the Los Feliz Library, where young Leo used to look for literature as a way to escape his poor area. Following the terrible 2010 Haitian earthquake, he sent $1 million in relief. Silently, He also backed minority and LGBTQ plus organizations. Kids. $65,000 for an Armenian Children's Fund and $61,000 for GLAAD, expanding his influence beyond of Hollywood. Over the past few years, he has become more obviously as the unofficial ambassador of the planet. In 2017, when Hurricane Harvey devastated the United States, he promptly $1 million was provided for victims. When Australia burnt in 2020, his foundation sent $3 million for restoration and rescue. Even in the midst of the 2022 Ukraine conflict, DiCaprio provided humanitarian assistance, demonstrating that his concern went beyond not just to oceans and forests, but also to those ensnared in conflict. From performer once by taking discreet action, Leonardo DiCaprio, who was stuck in the role of a romantic prince, redefined himself. A celebrity who became a voice for the earth by using their fame. In addition to charity and efforts in the environment, DiCaprio accumulated a fortune that shocked many. His net is thought to be approximately $300 million, obtained via both acting fees and astute transactions behind the scenes. DiCaprio has long been a member of Hollywood's A-list on screen, dominating between $20 to $30 million for each movie. However, the back end accounted for the larger portion that he meticulously negotiated revenue-sharing agreements and arrangements. Because of this, he made roughly $40 million from Titanic and between $50 and $50 million from Inception, and a total of $60 million. He has earned more than $380 million from these back-end gains. Evidence that he is not just a talented financial strategist in addition to being an artist. Outside of movies, DiCaprio used his global connections to promote multinational brands, such as Tag Heuer in luxury watches and Oppo in Asia, Spirits, Jim Beam, and even BYD, an electric vehicle manufacturer in China, in total generating an additional $0 million. His impact on real estate is extensive. From Central America to California. He had a villa on Red Oak Drive in the past, Los Angeles. Sold for $4.9 million in 2022. 1 year prior, he had sold his Malibu beach home for $10.3 million, demonstrating his astute purchasing ability selling. However, he also grew, spending $9.9 million in 2021 on an opulent property in Beverly Hills. The most ambitious endeavor is not in the United States. Blackador Cay, a private 104-acre island in Bice where he intends to construct a tropical paradise and sustainable resort transformed into a global green living experiment. Despite being a worldwide celebrity, DiCaprio did not pursue ostentatious supercars. His collection of cars strikes a mix between environmental concern and elegance. Fiat and Toyota Prius Fisker Karma, Polestar 2, and 500e are electric and hybrid vehicles that are suitable for the environment for potent sports vehicles like the Porsche Cayenne Hybrid and Porsche 911 Carrera S. His opulence is also evident in the high-end goods head-asides. He has a $180,000 PC Philippe Nautilus watch, an emblem of the upper class. A Casablanca piano at home, worth around $600,000, is used for both artistic and decorative purposes. He even shelled out $3 million to obtain one of the rarest film relics available, the ruby slippers from The Wizard of Oz. The combination of Leonardo DiCaprio became a culturally significant star thanks to his artistic abilities and brand strength, clout, and enormous financial power. Above all, he used a lot of that fortune to uphold his principles, which include promoting humanitarian causes and preserving the environment. Globally. DiCaprio made fewer appearances on the big screen by the time he was 50. Screen, but raised awareness via creative, social, and environmental endeavors. Beginning in 2024, has strengthened his reputation as an international artist activist by openly supporting the preservation of Tasmania's endangered Ngin skate and resistance to the Australian Boit mining expansion in the Jarrah woodland by the government. Making use of social media, he used it as a weapon, transforming seemingly intractable topics into global discussions. Later that year, his co-founded organization Rewild held a ceremony at Art Basel. $2.5 million was raised for conservation initiatives through a private fundraiser. And DiCaprio started 2025 with a concrete donation of $1 million through Rue's quick response initiative to aid Los Angeles wildfire victims. This action shown that he talks about more than only the environment on a global scale. Stages, but he also provides direct help to his local neighborhood. In the same year, Hemade headlines once more after announcing plans to invest in a high-end hotel project in Tel Aviv, promoted as an eco-friendly development. But because of the political sensitivity of the area, the idea caused controversy. Evidence that even DiCaprio is still open to criticism even when he acts in a green way. In an artistic manner, he goes on his long-term collaboration with Martin Scorsese. DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence's co-starring roles in what both critics and viewers eagerly anticipated Scorsese's upcoming film, Happens at Night. He is also developing the documentary We Are Guardians 2025 at the same time, centered on Amazon deforestation, further fusing his passion for the environment with his filmmaking profession. It is evident that Leonardo DiCaprio has stepped into a new stage of equilibrium in recent years. Reduced noise at the box office, but increased awareness in environmental efforts. There are fewer performing jobs, but every endeavor has significance and a lasting impact. At 50, he is an A-list actor and a well-known environmentalist worldwide. Activist. A striking example of how, when used properly, celebrity can become a strong words that can change the world. Recalling Leonardo DiCaprio's journey, his legacy extends beyond the well-known parts he has performed over more than 30 years, but also in his refusal to be restrained, his unwavering desire to change who he is. From Titanic's romantic Jack Dawson to the vicious diamond smuggler in Blood Diamond, the bloodied revenant survivor, or the cruel aristocrat in Django Unchained. Every job has a unique mask and viewpoint on people. DiCaprio never consented to he has become one of the greatest performers of the 21st century because of his desire to repeat himself. His impact is widespread. Outside the screen. In a Hollywood overflowing with flashing lights and fading stars, DiCaprio has demonstrated legends are made of perseverance. In addition to winning an Oscar and numerous honors, but has also emerged as a representative of serious film, where each movie must raise more than just box office receipts. More significantly, DiCaprio has used his celebrity to further a worldwide cause. By way of Leonardo with millions of gifts from the DiCaprio Foundation, he has emerged as one of the few two parallel pictures of a Hollywood celebrity and an artist are equally remembered environmentalist. From defending Tasmania's endangered fish to opposing Australian deforestation to call for global climate change action, DiCaprio has demonstrated how artists may utilize their voices to influence and change public opinion about policy and motivate action. Thus, Leonardo DiCaprio's legacy is not only the movies that will be seen for many years to come. It teaches courage as well, bravery to flee his own shadow, to turn down simple positions, and to take the more difficult route in pursuit of the truth. More importantly, it serves as a reminder that art may become a potent force when it is connected to social duty. Armament to alter the course of history. Leonardo DiCaprio is 50 years old and carries not only an addition to the glitz of Hollywood, there's a sense of mystery that draws viewers in that he neither rushes to please nor runs from judgment. In a show industry that is quick to forget, DiCaprio has opted to proceed cautiously and carefully, leaving marks that are difficult to remove. Maybe it's not what he possesses that makes him special. Dated, the movies he has produced, or the number of honors he has received. The fact is that even nobody can really anticipate Leonardo DiCaprio's future at this point. That incredibly ambiguous, delicate, but alluring, possibly the longest role he has ever played. How about you? When Leonardo DiCaprio's life is examined do you see magnificent freedom in its splendor, its decisions, and its empty spaces, or unavoidable loneliness? Comment below. Additionally, remember to stick around as we continue our exploration of real personal narratives that can be even more engrossing than the movies on.